People ask
Mike's
me,
Daily Podcast.
Mike, why don't you do a live stream of the podcast?
Mike's
and
Daily
the fact is, I can't
Podcast.
because there's several things that happen at the beginning that require me to do some stuff. I guess I could do this. It'd be winning. It'd be a great idea. I might work on that. Thanks for the suggestion. Hey, it's Mike Matthews, and I'm suffering from indigestion. You know, this song is not my best, but I'm working up to the
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm working up to a John Lennon level type lyric at some point. Wish me luck.
Mike's
As long as it's better than
Daily
Olivia
Podcast.
Rodrigo.
Yeah!
Although I do feel deja vu. Is it Olivia Rodrigo? Yeah. She's the it girl. Forget Taylor Swift. It's Olivia Rodrigo. No, it's not Camila Cabello. Yes, okay, she's Cinderella and all that on the Amazon. And yes, apparently she's getting therapy, and that's good. That's good. Some of us need that. Some of us try to get free therapy from my girlfriend. That's not appropriate. If you know someone who's a therapist or a psychologist, don't try to weasel your way in to try and pull some advice out of them. Not cool. Not cool. Because, hey, people got to eat, right? I am Mike, and I am here today to entertain you. There is a very, very tiny feather sticking out of the mic stand here. I'm Mike. I'm sitting on a mic. I'm sitting on a stand. Wait, I'm sitting on a stool. I'm talking into a mic stand, even though I'm standing, or am I sitting on a stool? I'm slightly confused. But yes, it's a microphone. Mike's talking into the mic. And it's Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Podcastro Valley 10, the last place on earth. Lots of stuff to get to today. This is not going to be a short podcast.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Just want to warn you about that right now. The late, great Basil the Boxer. A picture from 2 years ago. We went to Half Moon Bay. It was oh so overcast because it was probably hot as blazes like it is today in Podcastro Valley 10. And when that happens, there's this like fog at the coast because all that moisture gets pushed. That's right. We had a great time there at the beach with him. Always a great time. Miss him so much. The late, great Basil Boxer, man. Hey, so let's say you want to get a new computer. Perhaps you want to have something to record your podcast on, or to listen to Mike's Daily Podcast on. What, I don't know. Whatever it is you want to do with your computer. How you plan to use your new computer should dictate what you want to buy. At a minimum, an 11th generation Intel Core i5 or AMD Ryzen 5 processor, the engine that drives your computer's performance. You should get that. Did that just sound like complete gibberish? Yes, I agree. 12 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes preferably though. 512 gigabytes of solid state drive or SSD storage, and NVIDIA graphics. This according to Mark Saltzman, the leading high-tech reporter and author on Twitter. He answers selected questions in his column. He regrets that unpublished questions cannot be answered individually. Oh, and he writes for Costco Connection. That's where I'm pulling this from. So he is on Twitter at Mark_Saltzman. That's Saltz with a Z. On the other end of the spectrum, if you only want a computer for light tasks such as web browsing, reading email, checking social media, listening to Mike's Daily Podcast, then you could go with modest ones, which should have modest prices. That said, purchasing a computer is like buying clothes for kids. Go a little bigger than you need today so you can grow into it for longer term savings. You don't want to have buyer's remorse by picking something underpowered only to replace it a year from now. Hear, hear. Excellent advice. When it comes to buying a computer, you've got three main operating system choices, or they're also called OS. And that would be Windows, Mac, and Chrome. Stick with the operating system you're most comfortable with. If you're not sure or you feel like a change, know that each OS has its advantages. Windows 10, and we'll be getting Windows 11 in the not too distant future, is available on many computers, through several manufacturers, and there's something to match all budgets. It works with a lot of software and hardware. And then made by Apple, Macs are built with premium materials and tend to last a long time. High quality apps are already bundled with the Mac or available as free downloads, such as Pages, Numbers, Notes, GarageBand, and iMovie. And I have never, ever made Mike's Daily Podcast on GarageBand. But I saw it was more than 10 years ago, that every Mac product you bought, Apple product, came with GarageBand. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Pro Tools. People are going to be able to do their podcasts and do their music, and it's going to just make the world explode with creativity. Has it? And then there's Chrome, powered by Google's Chrome OS. Chromebooks are usually affordable computers. However, I will tell you this, that Zoom works horrible on a Chromebook. You need a Windows OS system in order for it to work correctly. I don't know how it works with Apple stuff, but this is what I've discovered. And so Chromebooks, though, are good for those who want a computer for basic tasks. These devices are best used with online cloud apps such as Gmail and Google Docs. And yes, that's all Google-based, Chrome, etc. So that all works together. Google Photos. My lovely lady friend, she found that Chromebooks have that cool thing with messaging. If you've got the Google Messaging app on your phone, then you can answer and write messages on the Google Chromebook as well and talk to people, and you don't have to type with your thumbs, which is a pain. Or doing the speech to text, which, that works sometimes. Sometimes it works terrible. And in the world of radio, if you're trying to tell someone something about a particular radio station, like that refers to a particular station, they all have call letters. And speech to text does not understand call letters at all. When you say it, it tries to spell it out. It's ridiculous. I have to constantly go back and correct it. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valleyton, the last place on earth. Decide on a form factor. You'll need to figure out what kind of computer to buy, a laptop or desktop. Most laptops are incredibly thin and light, making them much easier to carry within your home and to off-site laptops. Many Windows-based laptops are 2-in-1 or convertible, as they can transform from a laptop to a tablet and back again. In some cases, the screen bends back on a 360-degree hinge, while with other models, the screen detaches altogether, so you can take it with you as a tablet. Desktops are ideal for those who want a stationary computer and have a bigger monitor and larger keyboard. Plus, parents often prefer desktops for younger kids as they are not portable and are thus less prone to damage. Some desktops are all-in-one with the computer built in behind the monitor. Some are tower-based, which makes it easier to upgrade components over time, something that PC gamers like to do. Whether you're working or schooling from home, choosing between a laptop and a desktop boils down to personal preference. In the work I do and with doing a podcast, I did do this podcast for a while on a laptop, but the laptop broke down. And this is what I'm telling you, is I find laptops break down a lot faster than the desktops. Ooh, but I hate it when the desktops break down. Because then there's a lot, desktop, you make a desktop do a lot more work, it seems. And then I hook up my desktop to 2 monitors because I find that very helpful in my line of work. For example, I'll be doing production on a commercial on one monitor and on the other monitor typing the email or looking out for emails from people that are annoying. We're going to get to that whole thing about annoying people at parties. Party people that are annoying. That whole thing, that's coming up. So don't go away in the second part of Mike's Daily Podcast, which starts right now. Whether you are working or schooling from home, yes, so don't forget you're always going to add accessories to both kinds of computers, the laptops and the desktops. A large or dual monitor setup, HD webcam, and powered speakers will help to expand their functionality, versatility, and longevity for your investment. Before you reuse or recycle your old computer, remember to back up your information, your important information, to an external hard drive. Get used to looking for external hard drive for savings and sales on external hard drives. Get used to looking for those. And now, it used to be like 3 terabyte was the standard. Now I'm hearing 8 terabyte. And I have yet to fill 3 terabytes worth of data. And I've had this 3 terabyte hard drive, external hard drive, for almost 10 years. Over 10 years. Yeah. Wow. So 8 terabytes, I mean, that might take up the rest of your life. Who knows? Consider saving word processing, documents, spreadsheets, presentations, contacts, web bookmarks, and of course, irreplaceable photos and home movies to those external hard drives. If you're getting rid of your old computer, and think about too, with stuff, important stuff, putting it in the cloud too. There's Google Drive, there's OneDrive with the Microsoft, with the Windows stuff. They've got this thing called OneDrive. There's, I'm not sure, it's the iCloud, right, for Apple stuff. And then there are all these other private services, Dropbox. They offer a type of cloud thing. They've been around for a long time. In fact, you can listen to this podcast, older versions, older episodes, which today is episode. Did I even say that yet? Oops. 2303. 2303 is today's FF episode. Some of the earlier FF episodes are on certain Dropbox accounts that I have kept over the years, and I have links to those at mikesdailypodcast.com, where you can also see today's podcast picture with Basil the Boxer, and you can listen to early shows from like 10 years ago. Isn't that cool? If you're getting rid of your old computer, the next step is to properly remove your data. Just in case, look for free downloadable shredding software that can carefully wipe your hard drive clean. I've never used one of those. That sounds good. I'll have to find out more info about that. When you receive your new computer connected to the external hard drive, copy the files over to the same folder as your previous computer, and you're like back up to date. And to help you get the most out of your online experiences, many of the latest laptops and desktops have new Wi-Fi chips. Wi-Fi 6 is nearly 40% faster than the previous generation, which was Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 6 also can handle more devices on the network at the same time. Older Wi-Fi routers with too many devices connected can cause traffic jams. Wi-Fi 6 allows more lanes for faster travel. If you don't have one, you will need a Wi-Fi 6 enabled router to take advantage of Wi-Fi 6 powered computers and other devices. Thank you, Costco Connection and Mark Saltzman. Do you know I have been pulling articles from this one Costco Connection for months now. This actually came out. You can kind of tell that was a Christmas edition because they were talking about buying a new computer for the kids. Yeah, this Costco Connection came out December of last year. Unbelievable. Also unbelievable, some sad news. I know a lot of fans of this guy, so you probably know about this. This is huge, and this is sad. Michael K. Williams passed. The Wire actor. Emmy nominated. He was only 54. That's just a couple years older than me. At this point, they don't really know. They're investigating what happened. They responded to his apartment in Brooklyn at 2 o'clock today. I guess that'd be local time. 11 o'clock here. 11 a.m. here. And yeah, they found him dead. So just very early news about that. He made his feature film debut in the 1996 movie Bullet, in which he played High Top. It was the late Tupac Shakur who discovered his talent and cast him. Wow, Tupac. I didn't know he was in Digital Underground, Tupac Shakur. Somebody informed me that. Vince in the Bay, host of Vince in the Bay podcast, he told me that. I had no idea. I have to get more up on my rap knowledge, my hip hop knowledge. So, one other interesting thing about Michael K. Williams, just an amazing career. He went on to play roles in movies like Bringing Out the Dead by Martin Scorsese. He also was on Gone Baby Gone, Life During Wartime, Wonderful World. He was perhaps best known for his roles Omar Little on The Wire. President Barack Obama said in 2012 that Williams' portrayal of Omar was his favorite character on The Wire, adding, "That guy is unbelievable." Also was on Boardwalk Empire. He also appeared in the Oscar-winning 12 Years a Slave. Wow. So, that big news today. Okay. Now onto something completely, utterly, and absolutely different, and that would be parties. So, I was at a party. I didn't get into it too much on the last podcast, but on Saturday evening, I was at a party. And by the way, in my life, even though I am not a parent, actually, I'm a pet parent. I was the pet parent of Basil for 10 and a half years. And then with two cats now, two former feral cats have sort of adopted me. So I'm their cat daddy. Wow. And then, so I am not a parent of a human. However, just like a parent of a human who wants to go to a party, wants to step out on an evening on the town with the missus, and they have to hire a babysitter to watch the kids, and then they get to the party, and at the party they're enjoying themselves, and suddenly the phone rings, and it's the babysitter, and it's a question, and this is what happens to me. So I get to the party, I walk in the front door. Within the first 5 minutes, my phone is ringing. It's my job. It's my full-time job. So I go, excuse me, and I got to get up, and I got to walk outside, and I got to go find a place where I can talk, and I got a question. And you know what? It's not like, it wasn't the dumbest question I've ever gotten, but still, it's something like I just need to, as I've told people in the past, I just need to flush my phone down the toilet. It is just... So, what ended up happening then? And then I got a call later, too, from that same job. So, it's just very, very, very annoying, as you would imagine. So, the other annoying thing about parties is when you go to a party and you see someone you haven't seen in a while, and they say something ridiculous like, "Wow, Mike, you sure are gray now. You've sure gotten gray. Look at that gray beard you've grown. Oh, you put on some weight." They say stuff like that. You got friends like that, right? Right? Talking like a millennial today. The Gen Xer is using the millennial right today, and that's okay. Today. But that is exactly what happened. I went to, well, they didn't say that exactly. This guy, and I've known this guy a long time. I've known him actually. The guy whose birthday party it was, let's just say his name was Robert Owen Welsh, who's been on the show before. He had a segment called Welsh on the World. You can look it up. It was in a podcast, I guess, about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer. So Robert Owen Welsh had a birthday on Saturday, went to that. Now, there's a guy that we both know that I knew actually before I ever met Robert Owen Welsh. And this guy was at the party. And he sees me, and he sees that I have my lovely lady friend with me. And he says the following sentence. Well, Mike, so you got a girlfriend now. Oh, God. You've got to be kidding me. Aside from the calls from the babysitter, aka work, to hear that sentence said to me, it was like one of those things that Lewis Black, the famous comedian who I met once very briefly and gave him a compliment, told him how much I loved him on The Daily Show, and he thanked me. A very kind guy, even though he wigs out and freaks out on stage. That's his shtick. He said to me, or I said, he said to all of us, Lewis Black, because he said this in a stand-up routine. He said he knows why people have aneurysms, brain aneurysms. And it's because you're walking in the mall, and you'll hear a comment like, if it wasn't for the horse, I don't think I would have gone to college that year. And Lewis Black, he goes on this long bit about how that sentence goes into his ear, goes into his brain, and then he does that thing. And he goes, that's all it takes. And to hear that sentence at that party, wow, Mike, looks like you have a girlfriend now. And, well, I instantly tell the guy, well, I've been dating the lovely lady friend now for over 3 years. So, yeah, it's not just a recent occurrence, guy. Well, yeah, he hasn't seen me in a long time. I understand that. But I've known this guy. What's interesting, we'll just call him Idiot Comment Man, because we're going to be very nice about it. So for short, we'll call him ICM. So ICM, I've known him a ways back. In fact, the late great Basil the Boxer and I used to walk, and I'd run into him he has a dog as well, and we would talk about owning dogs, and he'd always ask me questions. So, Mike, what do you do? And at that point, I was out of work, and all I was doing was this podcast. And I tell him, I do a podcast. He goes, what's that? What's a podcast? ICM asks, where's the podcast? Well, it's kind of like radio. It's kind of like it's on the internet. You know what? You don't know. You're never going to know. You're never going to investigate. I'm going to tell you this is going in one ear, out the other. That's the type of people I hate at parties. The kind that do the polite conversation, but they're not really listening to you because they're in an awkward circumstance. They don't know what to do. They're in public. They're socializing. I don't know what to do. I'm actually in person with people, and they're not wearing masks. Oh, no. So I've known him a while. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah. So he knew me when I was still married. My first wife, my only wife, my ex-wife now. Been an ex-wife for a while, but he knew me back then. I think he even met her once. I think she was walking with me and Basil. But and so he asks, he just, and then so. Then he knew me when I was single and divorced and wandering the desert for all those years and lonely and alone, and I'd run into him and then think, oh, God, this is pathetic. The only person I see in my world is this guy, ICM. Maybe I've spent a little too much time talking about ICM. The point is, here are things you do and don't do when you're trying to make good conversation at a party. If you want to be a good party converser, Your first stop should be the bar. The most social place to meet someone at a cocktail party is at the bar. People often separate from larger groups to get a cocktail, and it makes conversation easier to start because you're suddenly next to one another and it's easy to say hello. And then you catch the COVID. Plus, right when you enter a room, get a drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic, but it instantly makes it look like you're there to stay and mingle. Worth talking to. Be brave. It takes a swift act of confidence, but the best way to meet someone is to walk up and introduce yourself. You simply say, "Hi, I want to introduce myself. My name is." It sounds so basic, but people tend to wait to be introduced, and by doing so, they often miss out on many connections. There were some very interesting people. There are some very people at this party. I mean, very interesting people at this party. That's what I was trying to say. And like there was a Swedish guy that I'd never met before, very interesting fella. So, you just got to go out there, put yourself out there. If you are the host, it's your job to make sure people all know one another's names as early into the party as possible, and that gets the conversations going. And speaking of being a host, be a host with the most. Never introduce someone by mirror introducing, as in, "Sarah, please meet Martha. Martha, this is Sarah." It gives them nothing to talk about. Instead, try giving one interesting fact about each other so they can start conversation easier. "Sarah, may I please introduce you to Martha? Martha just moved into the neighborhood from Boston, and Sarah has been my neighbor for 5 years and plays on our club, doubles, etc." This guy's from Sweden. Talk. And now talk. Discuss. Here's a topic. Discuss. Remember Michael Myers in his thing? Mike Myers. He'd do that Linda Richmond impression. "I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. Here's your topic. Duran is neither Duran nor Duran. Discuss." Have 3 go-to topics that you can always fall back on. Architecture works. Believe it or not, architecture is a general topic that tends to work as well as a conversation starter. Talk about the room, the building you're in. I actually did this. We were all sitting outside, and I said, interesting thing about this house is the backyard is put on the directly on the eastern side of the house. So here we are, we're staying nice and cool. Meanwhile, the front of the house is hot as blazes. Discuss. A compliment goes a long, long way. Make sure to give it right when the conversation starts and not minutes into, in order to ensure it doesn't come off as an afterthought or disingenuous. Never compliment someone on their marital or religious jewelry, because that could lead to issues. Don't forget to ask questions. Sometimes when people get nervous, they tend to only talk about themselves. A good conversation goes a long way. It's give and take, remember, and listening. The questions should be open-ended. That way the person can answer with a yes or no question. Never start a social conversation with, "So what do you do?" Like the guy, "So what's a podcast?" Don't be like ICM. Avoid that. Avoid sensitive topics. Probably don't want to talk about the, although this conversation did come up, the recall. That came up during the party. But we all played it off pretty cool. And just had some very, kept it light, kept it nice. Put your phone away. I will add a caveat to that. However, back in the old days, which wasn't that long ago, you can even say 2008 this was true, because not everyone had a smartphone at that point. Still not everyone has a smartphone, but still. And by the way, traffic reports, what's the point of that on a radio station? when everyone has like a million different apps that can tell you what the traffic is, and that's what people are relying on. If their car ain't moving, they're looking at their phone. They don't give a hoot about what the radio guy is saying or the TV person is saying about traffic. Although I can understand TV traffic reporters, because they use all those cameras so you actually visually can see it. The radio traffic report makes no sense to me. Just saying. Okay, so, but this thing happens at parties when you're talking back and forth and somebody like, oh, and I love that song. So-and-so did that song. And then the other person goes, no, I wasn't that person. No, I'm pretty sure it was that person. No, it wasn't that person. That would go back and forth all night. Back in the old days, back in 2008, the late great 2008. Nowadays, we pull out the phone, we Bing it, we Google it, whatever. I Bing it because I get points, and I give it a plug and I give it a slug. The plug is I get the points, which I can use to like get an Amazon gift card. The slug is that Bing doesn't have the best results. Sorry, guys. So you put you nip it in the bud. You get the answer out pronto, thanks to smartphones. I love that. So please do that, but then put the phone away. Oh, this is interesting. Hold your handbag or drink in your left hand. So that allows your right hand to stay open to shake hands. What if you're left-handed? Do you shake with your left hand if you're left-handed? I guess that might be true. Tell me what you think. Put your comment in the comment section below. Or call me, 336MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast has been for a couple of days. Sometimes I get interrupted. Comment in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Stick to bite-sized hors d'oeuvres. Nibbles. But only take one small enough that you don't have a mouthful when socializing. There you go. That all from townandcountrymag.com. Remember Town and Country Magazine? I think I got a couple of issues. Not that I actually paid money for it. I had some travel miles that were going to expire, and I did that Mags for Miles thing, and I got Town and Country for a while. The cool thing about that is it has all these funky old 70s pictures that they like to use, 60s and 70s pictures. It's hilarious. I'm looking at one right now because it has to do with this this topic, and there's all these people standing around a pool, and this obviously looks like 1968. And I'm thinking one of these people might be related to me. It's bizarre because this looks like this was taken somewhere in the Pasadena Hills. Interesting. Town and Country. townandcountrymag.com. Thank you for that article. Okay. Let's wrap up the show. We're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton. The last podcast picture featured Ditto Landing near Huntsville, Alabama. It is the only boat marina that is near Huntsville, Alabama, and someday I will move back to Huntsville, Alabama. Not sure when it's going to be, but when I do, I will buy a boat and I will put it in Ditto Landing, and I will take little cruises on the Tennessee River, and you are welcome to join me for a 3-hour tour. That's it, just for a 3-hour tour. But that's my plan. That's my long-term plan, Stan. And let's get on the bus, Gus. Or actually, let's say hi to a couple people who just got off a bus. Hello, Mike Matthews at Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Oh my gosh, I just got off that bus and it smelled really bad, Mike Matthews. Oh, that's terrible, Chely. Where did you go on the bus? I went gambling. I went to a casino, Mike Matthews. You're too young to do that sort of thing. You got to wait till you're, retirement age, later on in life before you do that kind of thing. Whatever, Mike Matthews. It was fun. And all these old guys were hitting on me. That sounds gross. Yeah, it was. Well, sorry about that. I would avoid buses in the future, Chely Shoehart. That's okay, Mike Matthew. Hey, everybody. I'm selling bus tickets in the gift shop and snow globe. Bus tickets, everybody. Bus tickets. In the gift shop at Cafe Anyway. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Floyd's been cleaning the floor in the bus so that it doesn't smell as bad. Did anybody notice? Chely just did. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, Mike Matthews, thank you. Mike, so you got a girlfriend, huh? Yeah, that's like you've known about that for a while. Lovely lady friend. It's been what's up with people? I don't know. I was just telling. You know how I found out was through my friend. Is your friend named ICM? Yes. Ah! It all comes back around, everybody. Isn't ICB a root beer? Well, that's pretty much for the end of the Labor Day thing. If it's a root beer or not, it doesn't matter. We do have root beer here. The Brewmaster's not on this FF episode. I think he was in the last one. So go back and check that, or the one before that. But next show, it will be the Brewmaster and Benita and the Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Thank you for listening. Tell all your friends about this podcast. So much to learn. And it's always a good time hanging out here at Cafe Anyway with you. Anyway, here's A Frame taking us off.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.